Thank you very much to Andes for inviting us to this opportunity, which goes a lot in line the motto of the event with focus on commercialization. This is the reason why Quintaris was founded. So I hope that after this presentation, you will be able to understand a little bit better the direction that we are trying to take together with our shareholders and why for us the cooperation with entities such as Andes is so essential for going from the lab to the car. So we don't need to explain the reasons why RISC-V is a great technology. On the top, the open nature of the technology obviously is essential. But together with that, there is a really rich ecosystem. But then why our shareholders created Quintaris? The technology is been growing a lot. If anybody here has gone to a RISC-V International Summit, you will see how vivid the community is. But when our shareholders and other SoC vendors are looking at RISC-V, they had identified certain aspects of the technology that might be a blocker for them to transition heavily into this open standard. So when we started at Quintaris, together with Alexander Koher and some of the initial team, we started. The shareholders told us we need to solve for them 4 problems. The first problem is, okay, we are right now in an environment where potentially we will be able to switch IP to IP. But factually, when we are looking at the roadmaps of these IP vendors, we realize that we will be going into a journey that we will not be able to turn around or change in an efficient way. We want you to help us solve that problem. There is no guarantee. We came in and we were talking to a lot of the software companies, compilers, software, RTOS, and so on, and they were telling us this business case makes absolutely no sense for us because we need to work instead of with day one processor company, we need to work with 10 or 15 companies, which potentially will do business in 5 to 10 years. And that business case is really challenging for us to invest heavily into RISC-V. And then when they were trying to compare, it was not easy to compare apples to apples. It was, okay, we are receiving this performance analysis on all these cores, and we don't have a way to compare them. And all of this derived into the key focus of Quintaris, which is creating an scalable commercial implementation. So we agreed on that, and we went one step forward, and we said, okay, our goal is, as for the event today, is push commercialization. And in order to push commercialization, we are in a unique position given our shareholders. So Quintaris is funded by top semiconductor and tier 1 in the European and US base, and they are the best to guide us on what is important for them. So once we agree on how we are gonna, what are the problems that we are trying to solve, we moved on and we said, okay, how is RISC-V working right now and which place we wanna play into this supply chain? So we decided, okay, we are gonna be in the middle, trying to accelerate the path for the IP vendors and the software vendors towards production, and simplifying the cost for the upper layers on a specification. And we are doing that by being extremely active in RISC-V International. Our CTO, who is here today as well, Oscar is leading the group that is trying to standardize the RVM profile. We are working in Eclipse Foundation. We are starting to work at RISE. So we are really active there. But our key essence is cooperating with companies such as Andes and the ecosystem around them. Because only by securing that they can go quickly into a design with one of our shareholders or other SoC vendors, which are not shareholders of us that are working with Quintaris, is the only way for them to accelerate. So we are not trying to add cost. We are not trying to add complexity into the supply chain. We are trying to help the lower layer to have much faster access to the upper layers, and the upper layers to unify the cost while they are deciding for use case. So let's go back to the 4 questions. How are we factually solving them? First is each one of the IP vendors have their own microarchitecture, and the software interoperability is not guaranteed. So Quintaris is heavily focusing on developing profiles and platforms specific for use cases. We started with category, real-time processor category, then microcontroller, and then application processor. And we are donating those profiles to RISC-V International for standardization. And we work with the key teams from our shareholders to specify for specific use cases what they want to see, how they want to secure software interoperability. So we have released already RT Europa, our real-time profile and platform for automotive use case, which come together with a reference architecture and the platform subsystem baseline development. In embedded world, we released Altered, our embedded profile. We'll be releasing at Electronica show in Munich later in the year, our platform. And right after, we are going into application class. We don't have still a commercial name for that, neither for the subsystem. But it's important for us that we cover the complete portfolio. So how do we deliver this? We deliver that in a profile fashion. So we have our RT Europa, for example, is a set of optional, mandatory, and extensions. And what it aims is to come much faster to the market. One of the issues we are having is that we need a certain momentum. Then we will donate it, as we have done it, to RISC-V International, but we need this momentum to be respected. In addition to that, when we generate the profiles, we generate the platforms. So these are the examples, for example, to the platforms that we have generated together with Andes, where you can see we are working with Safe RTOS, with AUTOSAR vendors, and all of this can be interchanged. And this go one layer forward in the sense that we create the complete system. Here we have the system that we have been demonstrated, for example, for a real-time platform where we have different IPs with different software stacks on different setups, from modeling to FPGA to real SoCs. And the key message that we are sending to the SoCs is we are ready. We are ready to go into a production environment, and we can do it under the basis of differentiation, but with enough commonalities that it makes sense for them to consider RISC-V. So in the ways that we are doing this is we have been really active in the ecosystem. We have been in CES, where we release our RT Europa platform, where we have a real vehicle application at all the levels. And we were showing how, with the gap analysis from different IP vendors, in this case it was Synopsys and Andes, but we can extend that to all the IP vendors which are right now in the market. We can work with the lead software vendors. So for the software vendor, it makes sense to work with us because they work on a single code line. And then we can extend that use case beyond the application to zonal architecture. In this case, for example, ECU, zonal application, and when we go to application processor, to the central core. We are not doing that a lot. The strength of Quintaris is that the industry have received us really well. The IP vendors perceive that we are helping them get the level of information that they need in regards of their platform so that they get it first time right. The software ecosystem is seeing the value of Quintaris on the fact that they need to work with a single vendor and they can start early on the software development, and we can be properly benchmarking them. How are we solving the software and ecosystem interoperability? We are heavily working on generating the software-based layers that abstract the hardware from the software under the basis of a joint platform. We have now RT Europa, but we will have now Alter, and we are heavily working to develop software components that can standardize the way that you build software for RISC-V. We are as well discussing with RISE about the future of this product, but for us it's been essential to lead the path and start generating this software-based layer. How are we solving the problem on the last of systematic validation? Quintaris has developed a Quintaris test automation framework, which allow us to enable for the SoC vendors and the tier ones access to different levels of IP, an FPGA level, modeling, SoC, with different software stacks, these different compilers, and run benchmarks on top of that in a really easy fashion, so that they can have this independent entity that can generate those tests for them, so that we can start helping the IP vendors and the software vendors to get the path towards being designing with our shareholders in a quick fashion. And that's obviously not an easy path because This is not how things have been done in the industry traditionally. It's a joint venture formed by many large organizations. It can be perceived as a point of control, but those who are working with us know that for us, our main goal is to enable the ecosystem that they can be designing in RISC-V. How we complement our solution is clearly identifying the areas where we can help you. Help an IP vendor, an SoC, a tier one, or an OEM. So we have built a services team that is able to help you walk the path to be designing into a large or a small or a medium-sized program. So summarizing the role of Quintaris, why, if you're an IP vendor, why you should work with Quintaris, we are working almost with every IP vendor globally, is because we help you improve from the beginning. You are getting from the beginning the specification coming from our shareholders and as well other vendors in the industry to design it first time right. You are getting neutral validation on your products, which for many of these vendors is of the essence to abstract the own validation that you might be performing. When you are integrating the risk on different customers, you don't need to worry about it. We are working with almost every SoC in the market right now to help you get the first time right. And last but not least, the design. There are many IP vendors that we have engaged with that they have been creating products in the absence of a direct feedback from the SoCs. And when they get to them, the gap is so large that it doesn't make any sense for them to engage with them. If you're a software vendor in the audience and you want to work with Quintaris, obviously you get a single code line. The software vendors were the first one who identified Quintaris as a strategic partner because they see the reduced level of integration efforts and that we can integrate you already in the early phases of the IP. And even though when the SoC is in the market, you will need to contextualize it, the cost of the overall journey is heavily simplified. If there are any semiconductor vendors in the room, this is our key focus. Majority of our shareholders are semiconductor. So we are getting a lot of value from the benefits that we are thinking for them. But it's simply the same. We are building, for example, for the real time, we are building this for the right market, in this case, automotive, but for the other cores, we are looking at broader market, industrial automation, avionics, defense. All the other markets will be more extensive. For real time, we were just focusing on the automotive part. But you avoid locking by working with us and the IP vendors that they are based on a common platform. They can differentiate in many ways, but you get that done. You have seen the IP vendors and the software vendors that we are working with. We're working in every region with vendors from US, China, Taiwan, Europe. So we are working globally. So for them, it's important to understand that we are enabling to them any limitations that might be in geopolitics. These extend even beyond that. Software interoperability, abstraction of the hardware, the whole journey working together, the compiler vendor implications that we are working with all the compiler vendors from the early beginning, and the profile simplify this to them. So the semiconductor vendors are extremely happy to cooperate with Quintaris, and we are extending our partnerships with them beyond the shareholders. As you have seen, we have a tier one as part of our shareholders, Bosch, the largest tier one, but we are getting this value to the market as a whole. There are many tier ones that have their own software. So Aptiv has acquired Wind River, or Electrobit with Continental, and so on and so on. So for them, it's really important to understand the implications of switching to another processor architecture. So the fact that we are doing this abstraction level, that they can mandate the platform, that we can certify for them, that the same thing that we are doing for the IP vendors, we can do it for the SoC vendors, to benchmark them and to pre-validate the complete software stack in our standard platform, is of the essence for them to make this decision to move from the only option that they had until now. The focus that we had in the last 6 months is to really cooperate much closer with the OEMs. The OEMs has been farther to the problem of RISC-V. So for many of them, it's a problem that is still too far. They are generating their current platform. They will see when Infineon release their new Oryx based on RISC-V, how they handle this. But it's important that we secure the same that we are securing for the other vendors, that we give it for the OEMs. And the main task that we are working right now in Quintaris is to expand our OEM reach. to help you, whether you are an SoC vendor, an IP, or a software vendor, that you can effectively go to the OEMs, and many of the questions that they have around RISC-V can be removed. So as we say, RISC-V is here to stay, and so is Quintauris, and we heavily believe on the journey of focusing on commercialization. RISC-V has been extremely active in and anybody who goes to Bologna or to any one of the summits will see it, in the research, but it's really important that we start thinking about commercialization, that we are respecting an industrial development scope, so that in a way we can work towards solving the journey from the IP to the SoC to the OEM in a consistent way. So I will be here around with Oscar. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us via email or our webpage or LinkedIn. And I want to, again, reiterate to thank Anders for the opportunity and for the partnership. It's been a great engagement since the beginning of the journey, and we look forward for a successful cooperation in the future as well. Thank you.